Morning. Good morning and welcome. Bloody welcome and thank you so much. No, seriously. Seriously, from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for tuning in and choosing to watch
Sunday Chat!
Yes, we're back again. The weeks are just flying by.
They are flying by.
But I do find that when you do more, you reflect back at the weeks, and in some ways it feels as though we've done a lot in a very short space of time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't feel as though it's just running away. It feels as though the time is well spent. Yes.
However, by the time you see this, there'll only be 2 days left of February, and another month will have gone by.
Well, it's a short month.
I know, but you know, it's another month, isn't it?
Yeah,
Are you going for the Brett's mother in Kath and Kim look today? When she's in the hospital bed?
Or are we talking about Kath and Kim, a little lighter? But no, it's different, unusual.
Because you got it all sort of back like
Swept.
she did. Yeah.
I'm swept. No, to be honest with you, this is just a quick updo, because my hair is desperate for a wash.
Aww.
I like to leave it these days. I like to leave it for a good week before washing it, and it just feels better, and also there's less loss.
Less loss.
Yeah.
Less hair loss.
There are fewer hairs lost.
Right.
Because I always give it a good brush before I wash.
I notice I'm going very... My temple is getting higher and higher.
You've got a receding hairline.
I've got a receding hairline.
Most men have at our age. Paul.
Maybe I could bring it forward.
Yeah, do a comb over. Yeah, why not? I can do that for you and tie it at the front. Paul, don't be silly. Yeah, just stop it now. Don't ruin it. Oh, it's already ruined. It's already fried by UV.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because you don't put any protection on it. You know, you should put a little bit of sun cream on your hair.
Yes,
on a sunny day.
I should. Yeah, on a sunny day.
Anyway, let's move on with the show. Shush now, Paul.
No, Richard.
Well,
Sunday Chat!
That and other things. So first of all, it's Richard and Paul's weather report from London.
Where we have 16 feet of snow, according to the Daily Mirror.
Well, yes. I mean, the Daily Mirror, if you were to believe that, we've already had the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, we have in politics anyway, yeah.
So, this week's weather has been changeable. That means changeable for those of you who don't understand French. And we've had rain. I got soaked yesterday.
You did get
coming
soaked,
home at lunchtime.
Yeah, he did.
I was soaked.
And
the heavens open.
He was whinging when he was going back to work that his coat was still wet.
I had to put a cold, wet coat back on.
Oh,
well, I dried.
It can't go on.
I just couldn't go on. I had to take the afternoon off sick. But I managed to dry it at work in the afternoon because we've got heating at work. That's why I agreed to full time, just to be warm.
I go out walking to get warm.
Yeah.
And then when I come back inside, it sort of keeps me warm for about another half an hour.
Well, it does.
If
you do something, if I do the housework with this on, before you know it, it's a heat wave and I have to strip off. That was my line.
Look.
What?
That wrinkle there.
There's no wrinkles.
There is. Look, it's getting really. It's like a crevasse now.
It's a fallacy. I'm 39. Anyway, move on with the show now. Come on.
So yes, and it was
bums.
wet yesterday, but actually it still remains incredibly dry. And if it carries on like this, we're in for a drought in the summer again.
Well, we'll be in drought conditions by May.
I think we will. And it'll be interesting to see if the water companies take action before if they start limiting water rather than sort of cutting it out. Yeah.
Well, hey ho, whatever, 2 other things. Anyway, so yes, changeable weather, still cold. We've had a few fires this week because it's been bloody bitter in the evenings.
And hot water bottles.
Hot
as
water
well.
bottles, lovely and snuggly.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was nice.
I mean, when I went out the other day, I think earlier in the week it was gorgeously sunny again. But as soon as that sun has gone, it gets cold. You can feel it around sort of 4:30. That temperature really falls, doesn't it?
But it's light at 5.
Well, it's light almost at 6.
Yeah, which is nice. But isn't it amazing? I've said this before. People at work are like, oh, wow, it's light. Wow.
It's never happened before.
It's like, yeah, it happens every year, but we're always amazed by it. I'm going to burp. Am I? Am I not? Am I? I thought I was going to burp.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't.
Anyway.
And yesterday, around 4:30, it got really, really gusty.
Yes.
I mean, there was no rain. It got really grey. We had no rain, but it was like a squall.
Yes.
It really was. And then by 5 o'clock, it had all gone. It was just a light breeze.
Right.
So yeah. And it looks as though it's going to remain cold and relatively dry for the coming week.
Yeah, there you go.
There we are.
That's the weather report. So before we move on, I've just...
there was an interesting thing. The Met Office actually put out a fact check. They put up a headline that had been in one of the tabloids, and then they put what they had actually said. And the difference was just, unbelievable. How the media can lie about what an institution, well, anyone has said, but an institution like the Met Office is beyond me.
Well, it's the old story. They want headlines that grab people to click on the link so it takes them to the article so they can see the adverts.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, some of those articles, you think, well, that's interesting, I'll click on that. And then to get through it, you've got to avoid clicking on any of the adverts because then it takes you to another page, and before you know it, you're lost.
Yeah,
in a maelstrom of interweb madness.
And
it's madness. It's the interweb. It's madness. Madness. It's the interweb. It's madness.
They're adverts that you aren't relevant to you generally anyway.
No,
and
like pile cream.
Well, sometimes not relevant to you. It's just rubbish. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, that would have been better, Paul, if you'd have made it interesting. Anyway, let's move on. Shush now, Paul. Shush. Shh. Calm down, you're out of control. So, I'd like to say something. I just want to say, Jeanette. Yeah, you. Jeanette Blair. Happy birthday. A little bird told us you were 70. 70, Jeanette. And apparently you watch us faithfully every single week, and you watch all the adverts too.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I don't know, I'm just saying that. So, happy birthday, Jeanette. And we hope you've had a lovely, lovely week with lots of gorgeous presents and edible things like
cake
chocolate and cake. So, and maybe champagne, I don't know. I don't know.
Champagne.
But we hope you've enjoyed your birthday. Bloody happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Why?
Just felt
That
like
was very strange, Paul. So there you go. Thanks for watching, Jeanette.
I've just realised that in 13 years and 5 months, if I live that long, I'll be 70. That's mad.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, for me, it's going to be at least another 30 years.
Well, you'll never be more than 39, will you?
Anyway, let's move on. So, news this week, the Richard and Paul Clear Out has almost come to an end. We've only got another cupboard under the stairs to go through, haven't we?
We've got the cupboard upstairs as well, which I've half done.
Yeah, but the cupboards upstairs are mainly done.
Yeah.
The fulfillment centre in the dining room is vastly reduced in size now.
We've got the sofa back, virtually. There's just one box on it now.
And yeah, it's great to think that we're so much lighter. We've shed all that stuff.
Yeah.
We've almost done the Swedish death cleanse.
Well,
really?
Yeah.
Well, all of those things would have to have been sorted through by somebody else.
They would.
Should we have been killed in a terrible plane crash?
Yeah.
Or an earthquake. More on earthquakes later.
So, you were saying yesterday that you think we should just go around the house and sort of
just look
say,
at
do we
things.
want that?
Yes or no. Yes or no. Goodbye. Don't need you.
What about that?
What?
The gem thing.
The little...
Yeah.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing it now,
What
Paul.
about the bellows?
We're not doing it now.
What about the bellows?
We're not doing it now. Stop. So, let's move on. That's all very good. We're very, very pleased about that. But one of the items that we did find on the clear out was our chiming clock.
Yes.
Now, it's interesting because I thought I'd broken it.
Oh, I think you had.
I thought I'd overwound it. Now, I looked into overwinding clocks and apparently it's a fallacy. You cannot overwind a clock. You can break a clock by turning the doodah too many times.
Right.
But I thought I'd done the doodah too many times and it was no longer working. So we put it in a box and said, oh, maybe we'll have it fixed. Now, this is quite an old clock.
Yeah.
Although I think it's a reproduction.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it's an original, but I really like it.
But it's quite old. And it's a lovely little sort of mantelpiece clock with hourly and half-hourly chimes. And so I started the pendulum and miraculously it was working. So we put it on the sideboard. I may do a little video on it. I may do an ASMR video on it. Because I don't know about you, but the ticking of a clock, there's something comforting about it. I don't know why, because it's ticking away time.
No, I think it's quite nice.
When you sit still and quiet in a room with a ticking clock, with an old ticking clock, with a proper tick-tock, tick-tock and a pendulum, there is this feeling around it. I can't quite describe it.
I was reading a book here the other day, and I could hear the tick, 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 tick in there. And then, of course, it chimes the half hours and it chimes the hours as well. We do need to sort out the weight on the pendulum.
Yeah, I'm going to do that, don't worry.
Which will need, I think, some WD-40.
WD-40 and a little pair of pliers, I think, just to loosen. You can adjust the height of the pendulum weight to get the time right. It's running a little bit slow at the moment, isn't it? So, but it's a lovely clock and...
Needs to go up.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. It's a lovely clock. And I think for me, it's that feeling... Because we always had clocks that ticked when we were children.
Oh, Granny and... all of them, actually.
So the sort of sound of that... on an afternoon when you're sat quietly, maybe you're at home ill from school, I don't know, and it's quiet and that's all you've got, and I don't know, there's something really comforting about it. What do you think? Are you old enough to know what a ticking clock sounds like?
Auntie used to have one in the hallway and one in the front room.
Yeah.
But the one in the front room would only tick when the front room was being used. She'd only turn it for when we were using the front room. Otherwise, the one in the hallway, and it feels quite a long, wide hallway, but I'm sure it wasn't. But it's wider than our hallway here. it was a grandfather clock in the hallway, and that really ticked. It was gorgeous.
The only problem with it is the chiming at night, so we have stopped it a couple of times because I can hear. I heard 3 o'clock.
Yeah, but that's because I went to the bathroom.
Oh, good. I can blame you.
Well, yeah.
Move on now, Paul. Paul,
doesn't wake me up.
The next segment is, how has the working week been, Paul?
Oh, it's been
What?
I don't know. It's been
Use
a really.
words
I
to
can't.
describe
But I
it.
think this is the problem. I got to the end of the week and I don't actually have no creativity brain at all. It's just been a full-on challenging week in many ways. And then yesterday, Vanessa, for her sake, said to me, "Could you do a leaflet for this thing that we need to do? Need it for Tuesday?" And I just went straight back and I said, "Yes, I'll look at it on Monday." Because it wasn't that I didn't have time to do it yesterday. It's the fact that as soon as I knew I needed to create a leaflet, put words together and some graphics, my brain couldn't cope with it yesterday.
You didn't have the resources for it.
I had no creative headspace yesterday whatsoever. Absolutely none. So that meant I got on and did other things, which was really important. And I did go for a walk, which was good. Yeah.
Good, Paul.
But it's been frustrating. There's things I wanted to do and I just haven't got on with them. And how has your working week been, Richard?
Thank you, Paul, so much for asking. I do appreciate that. It's been busy. It's been a busy week in social care. Quite a few things going on. But it's also been an interesting week because I've had a couple of conversations with bosses around continuing to work for the department even when we move. So basically, this has come from both sides of the business because I work for social care and the NHS. And both sides of the business have said that they would like to retain me in a role even if I move away. So I will still be able to work remotely for the team, which is really good news because that sets our minds at rest in terms of earning a bit of money when we move elsewhere. So in terms of that, there's no news on that. I've got a list of properties that I'm hoping will still be available, and I'm adding to that list all the time, when we come to need to find a place, which will be quite soon.
Yeah.
But we will keep you updated on that, but we don't know where it will be yet. We're hoping for Wales. But yeah, that's it basically. There's no news yet. This is why we're doing the clear out in preparation.
Yeah.
The next phase of that will be a couple of repairs that need to be done that I will need to get my finger out and sort out. We also need an electrician to do a couple of jobs for us as well. The cooker hood needs to be replaced because we like to leave things in working order when we leave a house because it's all about the energy that you leave behind you. I would hate to move into a house where things didn't work.
Yeah.
That hadn't been tested.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of things that need to be replaced and repaired. So we will be doing that. What? It's a plane.
It's a plane. It's a funny sound though.
Well, I think it's because it's quite humid.
Low cloud
and humid, you hear things more. So yes, there we go. That's the working week. So busy. I was quite exhausted come Thursday, to be honest.
You were, weren't you?
But I'm just thinking of the money. Basically. You know.
And I of course will continue to work with Vanessa. Vanessa, we did have a conversation at the back end of last year. Vanessa was like, well, when you move, will you stop working? It was like, well, no, definitely not. So that will continue as well. So yeah. Yeah.
There
all
you
good.
go. So lovely. And a news segment, a little mini news segment. What's in the news this week? Because there's a few things that have caught my eye that, frankly, have annoyed me. Here we go. So first of all, we've got this thing going on about the Roald Dahl books
Oh, yeah.
being, what's the word, not rewritten, but having certain phrases and words removed.
For sensitivity issues.
Yeah, so as to not offend people. So one of the things in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you've probably heard this, was Augustus Gloop, who is the greedy fat boy who falls into the chocolate river, was no longer going to be described as fat,
No.
but described as enormous instead.
Yeah.
And another person was going to not be described as ugly, blah, blah, blah.
Ugly and beastly,
Yeah.
and it's now just
Just
beastly.
Well, there's been a U-turn apparently on this.
Well, you think so?
Well, that's
yes.
what the news article said, that Puffin are going to continue to publish with the original texts. And what do you think of that, Paul?
Well, I think...
Are you offended by Augustus Gloop being described as fat?
No, I'm offended by Augustus Gloop now being deemed enormous.
Why?
Because is Augustus Gloop now a giant?
Yeah, enormous.
Because it's too wide
Yeah.
in its definition. You know, it could be that he's 100 foot tall and 100 foot wide, or 100 foot tall and a foot wide, or Augustus Gloop is fat. I am fat. I'm fat. If someone says that I'm fat, I don't go.
Well, I should think not.
Because I am. You know, I'm with Miriam Margolyes on this. You know, she said there was a conversation, I think it was on Good Morning or
This
one of those
morning,
this
yeah,
morning.
yeah.
Months, and maybe even last year, a year ago, more
Yeah,
than
blah,
that.
blah, blah, doesn't matter.
And she said, you know, I am fat. And I am fat. I have fat. You know, this is what fatness is, you know.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I'm offended by enormous because I think it's pathetic because it doesn't mean what the writer actually meant.
I mean, to me, the Roald Dahl books were full of exaggerated situations,
Yeah.
and also sort of served as cautionary tales.
Absolutely.
Certainly
absolutely.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you know, if you do this, and the songs by the Oompa Loompas were sort of alluding to those cautionary tales.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you do this, you will end up like this.
Yeah.
You know, if you steal the blueberry gobstopper or whatever, it's not been tested yet, so you're gonna turn into a blueberry, blah blah blah, and you'll have to be squeezed out and rolled out. I mean, you know, they were cautionary tales, fantastic in the true sense of the word, fantasy-like.
Fancy.
These are fantasies. They're also, and I said to you this, these are fictional
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
They're not based in reality. They're fiction. They're fairy stories, you know. And I personally think most children can define that. I mean, that woman on Question Time sort of said, you know, it can, when you come across a word or a description and you're reading a book to a child, she ends up pausing and saying, well, we wouldn't really say that, but that's the character in the book saying that. Well, I think children of a certain age get that.
I think most children do. Yeah.
I think children obviously have to learn as they go along that, you know, you can't throw insults at people without a consequence. But surely a well-written book also explains that.
Yeah.
In the story arc, you know. I don't know, maybe I'm crediting children with too much intelligence. I don't know.
Maybe you are crediting today's children with too much intelligence.
I don't know.
And some of today's parents as well.
I remember reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The Great Glass Elevator and understanding it for what it was, which is a fantasy.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think this is all actually I think it's been manipulated by, is it Puffin?
Yeah.
I think it's been completely manipulated by Puffin. They knew that there was going to be an outcry. I think they've most probably fostered that outcry because actually they're doing exactly what any good marketing person, any good salesperson would do.
Yeah.
So they are publishing now, instead of publishing one book, they're now going to be publishing 2 different editions of the books. So the ones with all the changes are becoming the books that will be published in all the paperback form and all of that, and then all the other books will remain with the original language that is today or was before this sensitivity thing, and they will be a collection.
Good.
So effectively you'll have 2 different sets of the same book available. So I think what that is going to do is those people of our age who might, Roald Dahl. I liked Roald Dahl. I really enjoyed reading them, but I was more passionate about other books. So I'm not going to go out and buy this 12-book collection that they are, putting out, this special collection that they're putting out.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's money making. That's it.
It's a business, and no matter what you think of Roald Dahl, he's made a few comments the years that were not very well received, and rightly so. I've got a soft spot for those books because they're part of childhood. And of course, Roald Dahl Day is on my birthday.
Yeah.
13th of September.
There we are.
So there you go.
I do wonder how much was driven by Puffin and how much was driven by Netflix.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Let's move on. The other thing I saw in the news this week, which really annoyed me, is that the government are granting Eurovision 10 million towards the event in Liverpool. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Because Eurovision is a song contest, it's a brand, and it's a
money spinner.
It's effectively a label.
Yeah.
So the situation in Ukraine aside, because it was Ukraine's turn to host.
Because they won.
And obviously can't host safely.
Mm-hmm.
That situation aside, why is the government granting what is essentially a private business £10 million?
Don't know.
Is it a charity? It's not a charity, is it? Eurovision?
No.
It's a business. So I personally find that I don't actually like Eurovision now. I used to, but I don't like it now. It's just like a huge concert. It has none of its charm that it used to have now.
And the political voting,
It's a politicized event, and art should be separate to that. I don't enjoy things of that vein now, and I do not agree with 10 million being given to it.
Yeah, it's a subsidy. It's a subsidy that's been given just like they give subsidies to energy companies, oil research companies. They give billions a year for energy. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the next news item. This is a divisive one, I believe. Theresa Coffey, who's one of the Minister for Food and something else, I don't know, health, something like that. Don't like her anyway.
She's not health, she was health years ago.
Was she? Anyway. There we are, 12 o'clock.
Is it 12 or 11?
Yeah, it's 12.
No.
Yeah, it's 12.
Oh.
I know, time's ticking on.
That's ridiculous.
Anyway, Theresa Coffey has raised the issue of seasonal produce. and has been misquoted. Let them eat turnips. This is to do with the fruit and vegetable shortage, which is being experienced by some supermarkets. Apparently, there are plenty of local shops, smaller shops, with plenty of those missing vegetables.
Yeah, I mean, for her sake, has got aubergine, tomatoes, courgettes, lettuce, that type of thing. The price is higher. But it's... When I went into Lidl the other day, there were lots of green peppers, there were some tomatoes, there were no red or yellow peppers. Actually, there was one box of red peppers, but there wasn't a huge amount of fresh salad type vegetables.
But this raises the question, should we be focusing on just eating seasonal vegetables that are available to buy in this country? Or should we be living in the lap of luxury, being able to buy whatever we want, whenever we want? So it raises also other issues around transport, carbon footprint,
employment,
shelf life, the chilling of things to keep them fresh, which again uses energy.
And carbon dioxide.
Yeah, all the processes that go to keep that food fresh. Should we be doing that, or should we be eating turnips and Swedes?
I mean, I think there's a balance, isn't there? But what our governments have done, and this is globally, is they've created...
Alexa, stop.
Our governments have created global trade and have fostered this. So we can get lettuce whenever we want. We can get satsumas whenever we want.
Yeah.
We can get all of this stuff whenever we want. And we've become used to it. That's a matter of fact. And to then suddenly say, actually, you should be eating just homegrown things because there isn't a glut of those is A, wrong, and B, disingenuous. Because when you tell someone you can do this and then you can't for some reason and say you shouldn't be doing it anyway, it's just completely disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very odd, strange situation that we find ourselves in now. Also because of Brexit as well.
Yeah. Significantly because of Brexit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a situation in the Netherlands which produces a load of tomatoes where their tomatoes in the Netherlands have never ever been cheaper because the lorry drivers to deliver tomatoes from the Netherlands to the UK and get back takes 77 hours, and the drivers don't want to be away from their families for 77 hours. So they say, no, we're not going to deliver. So it's more about that.
It's about business.
It's about
business.
business.
It's about government intervention.
Yeah.
Causing a lot of problems for smooth running of busises.
And of course, to say let them eat turnips, you need to actually foster that turnip growing 4 or 5 months ago, not just say it now, because not everyone can eat turnips, because turnips is not a big cropper in the UK.
But also,
we like them, but many people don't.
I mean, we'll eat anything virtually that of vegetable origin, apart from okra. No.
Oh yeah, ladies' fingers. Even that phrase is just like, ooh, how are your ladies' fingers?
Shh, don't, you're making me feel sick.
Talking about feeling sick, I did meet Therese Coffey maybe 3 or 4 years ago at a launch that I was at for a big farming initiative, a care farming initiative. Yeah, I thought she was pathetic then, to be honest.
And was she stuffing a cream cake in her mouth at the time?
No, she wasn't. To be fair, she wasn't. She gave a speech which was completely worthless, and then she left to go to somewhere else. So, yeah, not impressed then, not impressed now.
So, blah, 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 2 other things. Yeah. So, there's been an earthquake in Wales. Wales.
Aren't there always earthquakes in Wales?
Yes, I know, but we're moving there, Paul. I don't really want to move to a country that's full of earthquakes.
But
I mean, look at Turkey and Syria.
I know,
I mean,
but
this is horrific.
They have major fault lines, don't they?
I know.
Where we don't.
I'm joking. I was actually in Wales in 1984 when there was an earthquake.
I remember feeling an earthquake in Guernsey once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised the whole thing wasn't destroyed and swallowed up into the ocean.
I think I must have been around 9 or 10. I'm going to have to look back at that.
The situation, obviously I'm not making light of earthquakes, and the situation in Turkey and Syria is absolutely horrific and just absolutely horrendous. But earthquakes are fairly unusual in the UK. We don't feel them that often because they're quite mild, aren't
but
they?
they're quite...
They're deep underground.
They're deep underground, but we get quite a lot of them, I thought, but we just don't feel them.
That's what I've just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting though. Interesting. They heard we were coming, that's the problem. So...
Trying to put us off going to Wales. It's a bit extreme, isn't it? Yeah.
Nothing will put us off going to Wales.
No.
Okay, you wanted to talk about something really interesting.
Oh no, it's just we have Shell. We were moved to Shell when our energy company went bust last year, or the year before, I think. And they've had this thing called Smart Flex, where if you reduce your electricity usage,
during certain
hours, you can get some money back from some companies, or be entered into a competition with Shell, who made 59 billion, they don't want to give money back. Anyway, I thought, yeah, we'll do it. So we've done it 3 times. On none of the occasions have we saved any electricity whatsoever. And that's simply because we use so little. And I'm getting all these energy saving things saying, turn this off, turn that off. Pointless. In this house, we can no longer save any electricity, I believe, other than not having this light on. We've got a light here, not having that light on Sunday chat.
Our electricity usage is we're pretty good with electricicity.
And gas.
Well, yeah.
Even though it's cold.
It doesn't benefit us at all. But in terms of electricity, most of the lights are LED. There's a few things in the kitchen that have got to be changed. We're pretty good with appliances. Most of our appliances are relatively modern, so they use quite low levels of energy.
And even if they do use low levels of energy, like the light on our cooker, I turn that off so that the cooker doesn't have a clock on it.
Yeah, so these schemes are completely pointless.
And again, what frustrates me is, over the last 10 years, everyone was told, move to LED and, all of these things, which we have done, yet we're still spending more on electricity than we were 10 years ago. Insanity.
Well, yeah, because they've realised they're not making as much money.
I know. It's put all these energy-saving initiatives in, yet you still end up paying more than you were. So they have to put the prices
up to make those profits again.
Well, no, again, I won't get into it.
No,
yeah,
blah,
sorry.
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
So,
I can't go on.
No, I can't go on either. No, let's move on to the final segment of today, which is what have we watched on television, Paul?
Well, it's
been a good week for TV. It's been an interesting week for TV, and I'm making it interesting, Paul.
I thought you asked me.
No. It's just a phrase. No, I'm just framing it, Paul. It's been an interesting week. New series of things. Let's kick off with that.
Right.
Picard. New season, Amazon Prime.
And Paramount.
Fantastic. Keeps me watching, I tell ya. Even at that time of the evening when I'm
usually
having a tendency to fall asleep very quickly, immediately, in fact, sometimes I just go like that. I don't know. It's quite incredible.
You do.
I think I've got that thing.
No, you haven't.
I've got that thing.
You just fall. He's always been able to. Just
I've
fall
got
asleep.
that thing. What's it called?
Falling asleep syndrome.
You know.
Yeah. Anyway, we really, really enjoyed it. The second episode, even better than the first episode.
It's fantastic. Just
so,
great.
Yeah, loved it.
Although
loved
I had to go back on Wikipedia just to remind myself of what happened at the end of season 2, because I'd forgotten.
Yeah, well, yes, this season 3 starts off and you think, oh, I've never seen that before. Have I missed something? It does have that little sort of first few minutes.
There wasn't
is a
a
bit odd.
recap.
No, there wasn't, which was odd.
Which is quite good, because those recaps...
God, they can go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it?
And have you noticed they've also cut down the music at the beginning? So it actually gets into the action far quicker now.
I've said it before. Why is it the bloody factual programs have to have
recaps.
this? No, it's not even a recap. It's a preview.
Oh yeah, preview
of what's to come in the show. Well, thank you very much, but we're about to watch the program, so we'll see what's coming up. Because very often that 2 minutes at the beginning, it's like speed watching the program.
Yeah. I think it was the Ruby Wax one where we had to go about 4 minutes into the recording
Ruby
to actually
Wax,
get to it.
Michael Portillo, any documentary. It's just pathetic. Stop doing it.
And also, I know these companies want to entice us to watch the next episode.
That's a trailer.
But that's a trailer. So at the end, I have my finger on the button, literally, because I don't want to see the trailer and think about what's going to happen next week. You know, so at the end of Picard, I just stop it so that we don't see the trailer for next week.
We also watched Kath and Kim 20th anniversary special,
and they had a lot of South Africans there.
Our affluent life, our affluent life. Nice. We loved it actually.
Yeah.
It's a 2-parter. We haven't finished the second part, but it's I fell asleep because I was tired by that point. Really great, lots of outtakes, new scenes that they've recorded. It's so interesting to see them now because obviously it's 20 years on, the actors have aged, but it's also interesting to remind ourselves of how big this show was.
Yeah.
I mean, Gina Riley and Jane Turner were already famous in Australia. They were already comedians and actors. As were many of the other cast. But to us they were new at that time because we, hadn't seen them. But it was huge. It was such a huge show. And also the thing that struck us was how hard they must have worked.
Yeah. Going on to TV programmes and being at special events. At one point you see them coming in this sort of like very colourful type of Batmobile into a huge stadium with,
massive,
like 50,000 people there or something.
Award ceremonies, So they worked really hard and they deserve all the, success that they've had. But that was really good. That was on Netflix.
That was on Netflix. What I also like is you only see them as Kath and Kim. You don't see them as...
Well, apart from the outtakes.
Well, apart from the outtakes, but they're still sort of in character and they're breaking character, aren't they? They weren't interviewed as creatives, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Because very often in these sort of anniversary specials, the creators are interviewed as creatives, and it was nice that didn't happen.
Yeah, because it keeps the characters alive.
Absolutely.
And it shows you that those characters have continued, and in your mind they will always be there.
And it was also interesting because it is 20 years on, so you see them as they are now. But within the show, Epony ages 20 years and gets married. So it's quite interesting to see they've got quite a lot of the wedding scene of Epony where they have been aged with makeup by 20 years compared to how they actually look 20 years on. I thought that was quite interesting.
Well, those were fantasy sequences.
I know they were fantasy sequences, but great.
So Vera continues. comes to an end.
It concluded.
It concluded.
It's the season finale.
And it's what we were waiting for.
Yeah.
We were waiting for Vera to be put into some kind of peril.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you were watching last week or the week before, that's what we said. And our wish was granted.
Yeah, in loads. Right from the get-off. Yeah.
The get-go.
The get-go.
We continue with the new season of Father Brown, which is enjoyable, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
We also watched the old movie, which was called...
Can't remember, but it was the Cross one, wasn't it? Where Flambeau is in it. So it's an Alec Guinness
playing
as Father Brown. And Flambeau is in it and steals the cross, or there's a cross that needs to be transported, and it's that story.
Wasn't the best of old movies. I said switch off, I'm bored.
I'll most probably watch it in the background when I'm doing some work at some point and finish it.
It's not what I would call a super classic favourite, because it was fairly dull, to be honest.
And talking of favourites, Margaret Rutherford, I noticed there's quite a few of her Miss Marple films. I think there's only 3 anyway, or 4, running at the moment. And there was quite a lot of chat on Planet Vegetaria about Margaret Rutherford and Miss Marple. I don't know if you saw it.
There was a video, wasn't there, that was posted of her being interviewed, and that was quite fun to watch.
Yeah.
That's Planet Vegetaria, a Facebook group by Richard and Paul. Richard and Paul since 2017, that's contractual. So we also watched our usual favourites, DD, QT, R&T and MSW. You should know what those are by now.
Oh dear. Yeah.
So that's it.
That's it
for this week's show. Oh,
and what starts on Sunday, i.e. when this comes out... Endeavour. Yeah. Really looking forward to that. So the final series of Endeavour. Yeah.
I can hear the washing machine. It's on its spin.
It is spinning.
We're trying to put it out soon. So it's time for us to say goodbye.
Is it goodbye?
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Adieu, adieu to you and you and you. Thank you once again for being there and supporting us on all our platforms.
Sunday Chat!
Goodbye.